I just got to Joann Fabrics to pick up yarn for my bookworm. So many of y'all have been sending me this picture of a reading snake log, and I am obsessed with this. We've talked about it in a few of our live streams, and y'all suggested that instead of a snake, I should do a worm, like a bookworm, and make it my reading log for 2025. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So the idea is throughout 2025, I am going to be crocheting a worm, and every single time I finish a new book, I'm going to add a new section to the body of the worm. When I crochet each new section of the worm, the color of the worm is going to change based on the genre of the book I just finished reading. So today to prepare, I've been asking myself, what genre of books do I plan on reading this year? And what color in my brain correlates with each one of these genres that I'm going to be reading? And I think I have figured out what I want to do, so let's head over to Yarn and grab what we need. I genuinely don't use fuzzy yarn that often, but I kind of picture this worm being like kind of big when I'm done with it and having it be like almost a little squishy plushie that I can like use as an armrest or like fold up in different ways to hold while I'm reading. Okay, I think I found all the colors. Well, almost all the colors. I read a lot of fantasy, so for starters, we are going to be dividing up fantasy between general fantasy, fantasy with dragons, and fantasy with fae. Sci-fi, anything to do with self-improvement, growth, anything related to like my job, general fiction outside of fantasy, and nonfiction. The only color I couldn't find that I really want to use is red. I don't know, to me, dystopian novels just feel red, and they did not have a red in this type of yarn, so I will be checking online to see if I can grab some red yarn for my dystopian novels. I think all we have left is some polyfill and some googly eyes. Sad news, I had no luck with eyeballs here. Truthfully though, I probably already have some crochet eyes at home with all of the crochet stuff that I have. So I'm gonna check out and we're gonna go home and get started on the bookworm. My current read hooked me. It took me so long to get into Iron Flame, but the second half, I could not put it down last night. So instead of working on our bookworm, we actually became a bookworm. But today I am going to finally be starting our bookworm and I'm so excited. When I was about to check out at Joann's, I started thinking about like the head and the tail of our little worm and how like I didn't really want them to be a color that directly represented one of our genres. So then I looked up some pictures of a bookworm to kind of like get a better idea of maybe what I wanted my bookworm to look like. And most of the bookworms looked like this, which is like exactly this color green. So I'm going to be making the head of the bookworm in this color green and the tail in this color green. Now I could not find the right eyes that I was looking for at Joann's, but it turns out that's a good thing because I already had eyeballs at home. And I think that these are kind of like the perfect size. They're pretty big, but I think that that's good because I think I want our bookworm to be pretty big. Now this yarn calls for a 15mm hook. I don't have a 15mm hook. Want to inspect the crochet hook? Yeah, you do. So that is a 15.75mm crochet hook. And I don't really want to go any bigger than the recommended crochet hook size because I still want this to be a very like tight knit plushie. I think instead I am actually going to size way down. I think I'm gonna use a 10mm crochet hook so our plushie can have very tight stitches. Are you joining us? Oh, thank you. Now, none of my regulars are going to be shocked to hear that I'm not using a pattern for this, but I will be writing down what I'm doing. So if you want to make your own bookworm, you can follow along. So I guess I'll be kind of like making up a pattern as I go, but I'm not like using a pattern. Okay, I'm starting with a magic circle and we're gonna be doing single crochets. Now, if you wonder what I'm going to be doing while I am crocheting this project, I am going to be listening to the audiobook of Onyx Storm. And yes, as much as I can, I like to still get the physical books, even if I am reading on like my e-reader or listening to an audiobook. I love having physical books, not just for like my bookshelf, but also like, I do like to read along as I'm listening to the audiobook a lot of times. Sometimes that's like on a physical book, sometimes that's my e-reader. And I also really like to just like lend physical books to friends to read. Like currently one of my friends has my Fourth Wing book, and when she's done with Fourth Wing, if she wants to continue the series, I will lend her these too. Ooh, 1111, make a wish. And for now, while I crochet, I'm going to dive into Onyx Storm because I'm hanging out with a friend tomorrow night who is 21 chapters into Onyx Storm already, and we want to be able to talk about it. And I am currently still on chapter 1. Okay, if you're a regular here, especially if you're somebody who watches my long form and my shorts, you probably have noticed that when I can't make up my mind of what to do when I'm working on a project, I post a short about it. I post a TikTok, I post a reel. I post and I ask you guys, hey, I can't make up my mind on what I'm doing right now. What would you do? So there are 2 things that I've already posted about this project that I can't make up my mind on. So y'all who are seeing this video right now might have already seen these shorts and you guys might have already voted on what you think I should do. Now, one of the things that I cannot decide is where the eyeballs are going to go on our worm. I feel like there's 2 obvious choices. I feel like they could go right here on kind of like the front of his face, right? And we can have like a little mouth. I think he's probably gonna have glasses, and then the body would be built out in segments behind him. Does that kind of like make sense? Like on the front right there? Or it can go on like the side of his face, like this, with like a little mouth and glasses, and then the segment doop, 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 built out like that. I'm leaning towards this one right now, but I still want to see what y'all say. The reason I'm leaning towards this one is because this one gives worm to me more, whereas like this one gives snake. But I'm really curious to see what you guys are going to say in the comments. Okay, before we go into the second thing that I asked y'all, I will do this full series this year without giving you guys spoilers about books. I really don't like spoilers. So we might talk about just like a general theme of a book, but like I won't talk about like spoilers in a book. So that being said, the first book that I read this year is Tower of Dawn, and it is a part of the Throne of Glass series. Now the Throne of Glass series has fae in it, and as we know, one of my genres is specifically fantasy with fae. And here's where it gets kind of tricky. In the Throne of Glass series, there are fae and there are humans. And you may have heard people talk about the Throne of Glass series and how you are supposed to do 2 books read in tandem because they happen in 2 different parts of the world at the same time. Well, one of those books is Tower of Dawn. And in this book, it only follows the plot line of humans. There aren't any fae in this particular book, but the world overall still has fae. The fae that these characters know are still talked about a lot and referenced a lot. So I can't decide if Tower of Dawn should be classified as just general fantasy or fantasy with fae. So I actually started by texting a few of my friends who have already read the Throne of Glass series what their opinion was on this dilemma, and I got a 50-50 response. 50-50 thought fantasy with fae versus general fantasy. So after I got a 50-50 response from my friends, I posted to ask you guys. So when we finish our worm's head, I'm going to pause and I'm going to go read all of y'all's comments and tally up how many of you thought fantasy versus fantasy with fae for Tower of Dawn. And whichever y'all say fantasy or fantasy with fae, that is what I'm going to be using for Tower of Dawn. I think I am done with the head. I did like the increase and then the decrease, and then we're gonna have like the body segments coming out after this. And I just checked. So far, all of y'all unanimously agree that the eyes need to go like on the side like this. And one of y'all said that if they're up here, it's like they're on the top of his head, and I can't unsee that now. So it has to go like this. And oh my gosh, this is gonna be so cute. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the eyeballs on so I can go ahead and stuff it as I go. Oh, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. I really want to stuff it as I go, also to like make sure that it's gonna have like the look that I want it to have, you know? Oh my gosh, our little bookworm. It is officially time for me to do some tallying of general versus fae. Let's see what y'all voted for. Is Tower of Dawn general fantasy or fantasy with fae? All right, another one for fantasy with fae. Another one for general. We're still at 50-50. Going to all the platforms. Oh my gosh, we're still at 50-50. I am cracking up right now. The winner was only by 1 vote. 1 vote. So even y'all were really split on if I should call Tower of Dawn fantasy or fantasy with fae. By 1 vote, y'all ended up choosing general fantasy. And for general fantasy, we are using this color of green. It's one thing I love about this fuzzy yarn. You can always just break it instead of cutting it. This might take some like trial and error. I don't really know, but I'm going to attempt to give this like a little bit of like a bobble look throughout his body. I lost count, so I'm frogging. I am doing my best, y'all, to like write down everything that I'm doing, at least to like give you maybe a general idea of how I'm making this little bookworm, and then you could adjust it to however you want. I will put the pattern to the best of my abilities in the description, and maybe y'all can like help me make it make more sense if part of it doesn't make sense. I definitely think I need to stuff as I go to make sure it's getting like the shape that I want it to have. So we're gonna go ahead and stuff the head. It looks like a little alien right now. It's so cute. I can't decide how big each one of the little body segments are gonna be. I don't think they're gonna be that big. Maybe just like twice the size as it is now. Oh my gosh, I think that the first little segment of our body is done. I think that this is the perfect size. It's gonna be definitely big enough to be like a pillow. Oh my gosh, is this gonna be huge? If I read a lot of books this year, this is going to literally be massive. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Okay, Tower of Dawn is done. So the second book that I read this year was Recursion, which is a sci-fi book by Blake Crouch. And it's kind of a funny story why I read this book when I did, because I had just finished Tower of Dawn. I was starting on Kingdom of Ash, the last book in the Throne of Glass series, when we got a package from a friend. This friend knows that I love the book Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and they kept asking me to read Recursion by Blake Crouch. Like, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. It has probably been 2 years of this friend asking me to read the book, and I just hadn't read the book. So when I got a package in the mail of this book, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read it. When your friend sends you a book in the mail, you have to pause and read it. So I literally dove into Recursion and devoured it in like a day or two, and it was a little dark. Warning if you are going to read it, but if you like dark sci-fi that kind of makes you question time in the world and the universe, it was definitely a really cool read. So thank you to my friend who literally got so tired of asking me to read the book that they just sent it to me in the mail, because it was a really, really good read. And I actually don't have the copy of it here with me now because I lent it to my parents, because I think it might be a book that one of them would enjoy reading. And once again, that's why I love having physical copies of books, even when I usually do ebooks and audiobooks. You can just like lend it to somebody to read, and it just feels nice. This is kind of giving sour gummy worm, and I love it. I am done with the second segment of the body. It's gonna be so stinking cute. I really, really like the ratio of like how big the head is compared to the little body segments. I feel like it's perfect. I feel like if I made the head the same size as the body segments, it just like would not have looked right. And y'all, I definitely have to get a pair of glasses for this little guy. Like, that is so cute. That is so cute. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Imagine the glasses and a little smile. So cute. Okay, it is time for my third book of the year, and then I will be caught up. The third book of the year is without a doubt fantasy with dragons. The third book of the year is Iron Flame. Now, I actually started this book last year, and I DNF'd it last year. Now, after I finished reading Recursion, I did go back and continue to read Kingdom of Ash, and I was about halfway done with Kingdom of Ash, but Kingdom of Ash is a 1,000-page book. And I knew that I had like a week before Onyx Storm came out. And a few of my friends were like so excited to read Onyx Storm, and I just like really wanted to be able to read it with them. So I paused Kingdom of Ash and I picked up Iron Flame, and I finished it. I finished it this morning. Now, sadly, Onyx Storm did come out like a few days ago, so I am still behind compared to like where my friends are, but I'm currently like 3 or 4 chapters into Onyx Storm, and I'm so excited. I am seeing some friends tomorrow night and going to be able to like talk about it. So tomorrow I'm going to be reading as much as I can to catch up to them as much as I can so we can talk about it. Now, I'm not going to let myself work ahead, because I could always side tangent and read a different book before finishing Onyx Storm, because I do that sometimes. I will just like pause and like read something else and then come back to what I was reading. But assuming I don't detour, assuming I read Iron Flame followed by Onyx Storm, we are going to have 2 sections of purple back to back. And I feel like that's going to happen a decent amount, especially with like a lot of series that stay within the same genre. Like this year, I really want to try to read Crescent City, and I want to read Mistborn. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of like sections of the worm that are like all the same color. While I've been posting shorts about this, I have been starting to get questions about my reading goals for this year. And so I want to take a second to talk about the fact that like, I don't do reading goals. I usually don't even count like how many books I read in a year. For me personally, I just know that it's not healthy. I don't like competing with myself. I don't like competing with others. I read for fun. I read for escape. I read to learn, I read to grow. I don't care how many books I read. And that's kind of why I liked doing a bookworm, because like, even if I only read 3 books this year, imagine this little guy with a tail. Like that's enough. I have no idea if I'm gonna end up reading 5 books this year or 50. Genuinely, I don't know. And it doesn't matter. Like I said, I really just like to read, to escape and to go new places in my mind. And I think that this is just gonna be a fun way for me to like visually keep track of what I'm reading. And I also really like to reread books. So this year, there's a good chance I'll reread a book that I've already read in the past, and I'll also put it on the Bookworm, right? Like, why not? I talked about this a little bit in my birthday vlog from a few weeks ago, But y'all, I have figured out how to do the most immersive reading. It is seriously so nice. What I do now whenever I'm reading, I will have the audiobook playing. I will have either the physical book or the ebook in front of me reading it. And then in the background on my TV, I will go to YouTube and I will search for like whatever world I'm currently in, ambiance. So like whenever I'm reading Onyx Storm, I will go to YouTube and search like Basgiath War College ambiance. And y'all, the combination of reading along while it's being read to me with the ambiance in the background, it is like just pure magic. It is completely an escape. I love it so much. Now I do have a pretty extensive TBR for this year, but having said that, I do always love to hear y'all's recommendations. So if you guys have books that you think I would love, let me know in the comments, or even if you don't think that I would like them, maybe somebody else will. So let us know in the comments just like what your favorite book is. Maybe also let us know what genre it is, or like a sentence or two about the book. And I'm just like so excited to see what you guys are reading and what you recommend. The third section of my bookworm is done. I just need to stuff it. I am going to do my best to like stuff it as I go. I feel like it's just like easier to work with if like all the previous sections are stuffed. Y'all, he looks like a sour gummy worm. So cute. So earlier I was talking about audiobooks, and I've talked about this on other videos, but y'all, I have literally listened to audiobooks my whole life. Like whenever I was a kid, I used to go to the library and rent out like cassette tapes and then listen to audiobooks on my Walkman. And then just like as the mediums changed throughout the years, I've just like continued to love listening to audiobooks. And a lot of people ask me about like cheaper ways to get audiobooks, because obviously audiobooks can be like really expensive. And this is not an ad or anything, but if y'all haven't checked out the app Libby, Libby, definitely check it out. So like Libby is an app that lets you rent out ebooks and audiobooks from your local library. Literally all you have to do is have a library card, and then you can log into Libby and rent books. Now you still might have to wait the same way that you might have to wait if you rent like a physical book from your local library, but the app makes it super easy. So you can literally just like go in and request a book, and it'll tell you like an estimated wait time, and it'll tell you how many people are ahead of you waiting to read that book. I can't speak for all e-readers compatibility, but I know for sure that there is a way to like hook up your Libby to your Kindle, because I do that. So whenever I rent a book from Libby, it will automatically be put onto my Kindle. And it's a great way to start being, more involved with your local libraries and getting to read books for free. I am seriously so in love with our bookworm. Like, how is this just so stinking adorable? I seriously cannot wait for his glasses to get here. I just keep putting my glasses on him because it's just so stinking cute. I'm so excited. This is going to be such a fun year-long project, and I think that this is a project that's going to be good for me because, like, as y'all know, I really struggle to finish projects, Cue the 2022 temperature blanket that is still not done yet. But I don't know, something like this I think is really cool because I'm only doing a segment when I finish a new book. So like, maybe I'll read a book every week. Maybe I'll read one book a month. I genuinely don't know how many books I'm going to read this year, but I feel like this is going to be a lot easier for me to keep up with. And you guys will have to let me know how often you want updates. Like in my mind, I am just going to be filming a new short every time I add a little segment to our worm and give you guys like a little update. And then maybe we'll do like another long form video at the end of the year to do a little check-in, see how big our bookworm became throughout the year. Or maybe I'll just continue making shorts as I keep adding new little segments onto our bookworm. But definitely let me know your thoughts. Let me know how many videos you guys want about our little bookworm. Let me know what you guys are currently reading. Let me know all your book recommendations. And I'm just like so excited to be combining two of my favorite things, reading and crochet, in this silly little project. Well, friends, I think that completes today's video. If you are new here, welcome to the Sunflower family. My name is Auna, and we do new videos every single Monday. I'll see you in the next one.